Thanks everyone for joining in the Smart Experience section as well. Hopefully you get some more people that can come and sit down, but this session here is all about the manufacturing hype in regards to AI and how you can strategically implement a strategy in regards to your AI journey, and also how to create a profitable AI implementation roadmap. This is my digital twin. Why are we talking about this now? Why is AI important now in the manufacturing space? What about use case selection? What about testing? What about things on the shop floor? We hear things about predictive maintenance. We hear things about Gen AI. We hear things about ML. But why are we talking about this, right? Why does this matter? The reason why it matters is we need to become part of the 5% here in manufacturing. So there was a recent study that came out from MIT and Gartner, and it talked about how 95% of AI projects fail. Why do they fail? Well, because of the shiny object syndrome is what I like to say. We are concerned more about the advantages of the tool of AI versus building a compelling strategy in regards to implementing an AI solution for the business. So what are the common obstacles within the manufacturing space that stops AI adoption or from implementing AI? Well, 50% of the industry right now has either the data is siloed or the data is fragmented in some sort. By the way, for everyone coming, feel free to ask questions during this. I love interaction as well. So any questions that you have, I won't only be showing statistics, but there's three main things that I want to get out of this 30-minute session that I have. The first thing is how to identify common pitfalls of the 95% that has implemented a Gen AI solution that hasn't had any operational change in their manufacturing environment. The second is identifying high impact use cases that will actually achieve an ROI within your manufacturing environment. And the third is how to design a strategic roadmap with timelines to achieve a pilot, maybe within a certain department, to achieve a larger organizational change within your AI journey. So getting back to the stark reality of manufacturing, the first data point is the reason why AI implementations on the first part of the journey doesn't get implemented is because the data is siloed or fragmented, which means that before we can realize the value of any type of AI solution, we have to first clean up the data that we are currently looking at. The second reason that the AI journey gets stopped by a lot of the manufacturers and or distributors is because of the older legacy systems, but also there's an unclear rate of return. What is going to make my AI investment profitable? If you had a chance to listen to the executive leadership session this morning at the SME Theater, there's a particular data point that he talked about, and he said that the AI opportunities are there for manufacturers, but the return is unclear on where there will be a clear pathway. So we have to build success metrics around where we're going within our AI journey in order to get an actual outcome that we want. Similar to how we would input the right data inside of an LLM, right? Legacy systems. So 75% of our industry, if not more, still operates in some aspect of using spreadsheets, or they're using some type of older legacy systems that causes these disconnected or disparate systems where you need to do some type of integration. So why can't we turn these legacy costs into growth opportunities? Sometimes I get calls all the time. Hey, how many bosses are pressuring your employees to use AI, or how many employees are saying, hey, my boss is pressuring me to use AI, well, I just don't know where to start. How many of you have used AI in the past 2 days? In the business? Yep. In personal use, right? So I'll tell you that in a lot of aspects, the use of AI is already happening, but the operational challenges is not being addressed with the way in which we are using AI within the business. So the three things I said that brings us here today is one, identifying common patterns of why Gen AI projects fail. If you look at the MIT and the Gartner case study that just came out about 95% of these projects failing, Gen AI is one thing, right, about AI. There's ML, there's other things, but Gen AI specifically is the production of what? Text, images, audio, video as well, right? And then you get that output back. So that report that came out that talked about manufacturing specifically, a COO said in the report that she had implemented an AI solution within her business in the sales and marketing department. Because the sales and marketing department, they were running hot and fast. But the operational change was actually on the shop floor. The incidents and the preventive maintenance that she was looking at in her strategic roadmap. Ended up going with the sales and operations project. 2 years later, they ended up scrapping that, not realizing the value from that, and stopped their AI journey right there. The frameworks in which you evaluate an AI solution must be related to the operational challenges or pain in your manufacturing environment. We'll go over the 5% that got it right, both on the Gen AI side or the ML side. The second is we're going to evaluate high impact applications of AI, where we will provide criteria and that they use for success metrics to get to the end vision. One of the things that we do, thanks for joining, one of the things that we do in our organization, so Orasys, by the way, is where I work. It's a software development company, and we've been in business for about 25 years. On the AI side, though, what we're seeing is that the success metrics are tied to what the AI can do as a tool, but they're not tied to the operational pain, right, that is actually affecting the business. So when you're evaluating where to pick your AI solution or to build a solution, it has to be associated with an ROI in order to be a high impact game versus the shiny object of sales and marketing, or something a little bit sexier than just like a tool, right, to use. Remember, if you remember anything from what my rant is, AI is a tool, not a strategy. Third, how can we design strategically a successful AI roadmap? In the smart manufacturing experience, I encourage everyone to go to these types of companies. There's different types of companies that you'll see here. You'll see AI product companies and AI services companies. And there's two ways that this can fit in the manufacturing enterprises. They can fit into the actual workflows, or they can fit into meaning that you can actually build an AI application, or you can use that application for your customers or internally, right? To help out. So you have process-oriented AI applications, and then you actually have AI-enabled applications that you're able to purchase and or build. You still need to design strategically because the external partners, what we found, not just Orasys, but all these providers that are out here, is that third-party providers are able to see blind spots oftentimes that manufacturers, the average 40 years being in business on the shop floor, sometimes you can't see. So you have to maybe get a third party to identify those blind spots in order to identify where you can get the best use of an AI solution. The 5% that got it right, they started with operational pain points, not the AI capabilities themselves. Right? Meaning that all the stuff that I'm selling in regards to how generative AI can do this and ML can do this doesn't necessarily mean that operationally addresses what the manufacturer is going through. And the focus on measurable outcomes for the companies I'm going to identify a little bit later on, they focus exclusively on that end result versus the actual tool itself. And they had critical success metrics to build their competitive advantage and their competitive moat with their competitors. The high impact manufacturing applications, where do we see generative AI or ML being the high impact areas, which is 4 areas: predictive maintenance, quality control, supply chain optimization, and building a systemic evaluation framework, meaning that you can use AI within the workflow to build evaluation frameworks for the decisions that you make within your manufacturing space. The predictive maintenance we found was also very good as far as monitoring not only machines, not only but also performance indicators. If you want production efficiency gains on the shop floor, which I think a lot of us do within this space, or at least we have clients that may do. Well, what about all the historical data that we have? How can we use that to create those production efficiency gains? That's what I mean by building a systemic evaluation framework to create a high impact valuation. Now, the data modernization in manufacturing, data is only as valuable as your ability to access it and fragment it. The first statistic that I showed before you were here is that half of our industry either has data that is siloed or fragmented in some aspect, right? So we need to either create some, before we ever even get to AI, we actually need to focus a little bit on the data. If the data is siloed or is fragmented, it becomes really hard to scale any type of AI solution, even if you have an AI tool that's doing all of these real cool things. So without a unified foundation and system as far as your data is concerned, there's no way that you can actually get to the real value of any AI solution, rather or regardless of the benefits that that AI tool may bring. Does anyone have plans to utilize AI, or have you already started? Do you have an AI policy within your organization? An AI governance policy, right? Sort of? Yeah? What does it look like?
This part here where you describe the data modernization, they're kind of trying to piggyback off the data governance that umbrellas that covers the data itself, but still that's why I say sort of, because with AI, with generative AI, how the users can export the data or use it within their use cases is a little more abstract than just the data itself. So that's where we're kind of, we know we have to do it, but we're kind of in the middle of it.
Do you have an AI team that handles that? Like, is it like you have an AI architect or strategist that handles on the manufacturing side? Because you're a BMW, right? So do you have an AI team that handles the governance policy, or do you rely on like the leadership team as well to say, hey, this is what our expectation is? How does that?
We have a data management governance function that's centrally managed with like local representatives. So they're trying to work through that organization for the AI model, but it's still in its infancy. It's just being rolled out this year, exactly how it'll be managed. So like I said, because there's some parts of it that are abstract, it's a work in progress, but it is in progress, but it's not finalized, that's for sure.
And how's the data over there?
We're working towards the unified model,
Okay.
but there's a lot of siloed data, and there's like a migration initiative, and it's really, now that part has really improved over the last 4 or 5 years to centralize the data into these semantic layers across the entire business, but there's still a lot of data that is in silos and in Excel sheets, so it's kind of, I would say that's also a work in progress, but much further along. It's more, it is more modernized. It is more of an initiative. We're aware of it, so it's just not like conceptual. The actual technical backbone is in place for this to happen, and is happening.
Right. Thanks, Jeffrey. That was yeah. So it's interesting. AI is generally stalled by messy data, right? And so if, you know, I think everyone heard him, right? When he was just like, hey, we got to get the data cleaned up first, right? We have the policy that created, right? So we're already set up, you know, for a little bit for the future as far as like the parameters on how to use AI. Brian, you mentioned you have an AI governance policy in your company as well. How does that look like? What does your AI policy look like?
Well, we have a group that's at our North American headquarters, and they kind of control it and distribute it. And it's really about protecting, you know, our internal knowledge base. You know, the engineering, level of it. Some of the manufacturing is still kind of critical. We also had to adhere to things like ITAR, so that governance to protect that identity. That's kind of part of it. So making sure that the users, I'm a user, that we're staying within that inbounds area. And so having our own rollout of AI internally has kind of helped drive it where we can find the ability where we can use it to improve in our manufacturing area. It's kind of how we're doing it. So kind of decentralized.
Thanks so much, Brian. It's interesting because manufacturing is one of the most regulated markets when it comes to data, as far as it not leaving the four walls. And within AI, we have to have some type of governance policy, not only because of the third parties, but also because you just have everyone here said we individually use generative AI in the past 2 days in some capacity, right? So having some type of self-hosted AI solution, which you've heard about, that doesn't leave your four walls, is generally the appropriate mechanism once that data has been cleaned up and everything is all nice and buttoned up in order to execute that, right? Once again the data is good to go. One of the clients that we've worked with and recognize the value. I don't know if anybody knows Solmax, but Solmax is one of the largest manufacturers. They are an environmental infrastructure company. So right, they manufacture geotubes and things like that. They had very outdated, old legacy systems, as well. But to realize the value, again, in AI, they really needed to help out on the sales team and on their operational team with quoting clients, quicker, as well. So essentially what we did here is we built them a quoting tool, and they had a lot of manual processes that we identified. They had success metrics that they put into place, and we executed on those as well. We find that if your traditional software development projects are successful when you have success metrics attached to them and critical milestones, there's no difference between AI implementations either. This was one of the 5% of the organizations, that got it right. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see that is the application, that was ultimately, built. Another 5%er that got it right was Acme Energy Solutions. This particular entity, you look at this old school system, right? That they have. How can we turn our legacy applications into profit? How can we do it, right? So, AI tools definitely can help out, with this. But here was one of the things that we wanted to do as far as the modernization aspects, is we wanted to have a key performance indicator of reducing their own modernization, right? So we actually used an AI tool to reduce the modernization timeline by 50%. So we can utilize tools in order to modernize systems a little bit quicker to turn those legacy applications, right? A little bit, but again, like Jeffrey and Brian was saying before, there's so much data, and that has historical data that you have to go through. And in order for that to be, nice and, buttoned up, you have to have a policy, and then you also have to have guardrails up in order to make sure that you can be part of that 5%. So what we did is we looked at their old legacy system, implemented, again, some AI tools to help them go in a little bit into the future. You see on the right-hand screen, looks like a old, gritty system. They had, things that went directly into the electrical grid there. That looks like an old Algol, COBOL type of, system there as well. We took them into the new century that we're in right now. And the way that we did this is they were able to adopt what I will call the strategic guide into 3 parts, which is 1, having an assessment strategy and the success metrics as far as the operational pain points are concerned, setting out the success metrics as both what is your current state, the current state as far as your technical KPIs are concerned and your business KPIs are concerned. which means that your AI opportunity roadmap, if you have different use cases, 50 different use cases on what can give you, where AI can be ingested, what is going to give you the greatest ROI projection? And do you have a partner that is able to validate that projection? Think of it in 4 buckets. In our AI journey, we're discovering, we're then validating that discovery, we're then optimizing the application and or workflow to lead to productization. So the ROI projection has to be at the forefront of when we actually select any type of AI use case. Anna has a really cool product, and y'all should go see, she has an all-inclusive product at her booth. And I will say the cool thing about what I felt about the way that they built this product is they had these certain like success metrics in mind in regards to things along with like AI, right? So the opportunity mapping that you do within we generally call it, discovery or assessment strategy, and then we lead that to pilot implementation, right? So pilot implementation, generally this could be 2 to 4 months. The tools are advancing as we're speaking, right now. There's a couple of clients that, I showed in the previous slide, but there's one client that we're specifically working with in the automotive industry, right? And they have an 8D process in regards to how their technicians go through things on the floor. And they have a tool in which they want to use to basically prompt the technicians based upon maybe the repair that they did 2 months or 2 years ago, because all of that is there, to do the same thing and replicate that to get production efficiency gains, right? So those production efficiency gains was the ROI point that they put at. If you said, oh, we get 37%, well, we can save about $4 to $5 million in the shop floor. So this is the AI use case that we're going to start off, and we're going to assess that. Now, this is going to be our first pilot. We're going to start with this plant, and then we're going to adopt it across these other plants. And that's how you are actually able to have a measurable KPI. And then your third is your scaling and optimizing. We're rolling and running at that point. We're then trying to adopt it into the other aspects, the other departments. Remember, I said the data is siloed and fragmented. Well, now we've gone past that, right? So we can go into the other departments, because at the end of the day, AI is a tool that we can use across everywhere, and we are the ones that build the strategy in order to get to that scaling and optimization to productization.